most interesting part of this chapter, of course, is the 36 qualities of a perfect Bhakta. So who is this Bhakta who is dear to the Lord? And he says, my Bhakta who is dear to me, he is the one who hates no creature. He's got no hatred for anybody. And why do you think that is? Because if he is the devotee of the Lord, and if he sees the divine in everyone, how can he have hate for any creature? Because he's seeing the divine in everybody. The one in all, remember, the one in all is what he's seeing, and therefore how can there be any hatred? Hatred only comes if we see something different from ourselves, or if we see something different from the divine, then hatred begins to develop. But here there is no hatred. Friendly and compassionate to all. Why? Again, because seeing the divinity everywhere, this is my friend. Why? Because divinity is there. Compassion is there as well. Somebody who is in need of compassion, very easily available for the Bhakta to give out. Free from attachment. Bhagwan himself says, free yourself of this fruit of the action, attachment to the fruit of the action, attachment to the things and beings and situations of the world as well. Free from attachment. Free from egoism, that I am this person. This mamakara, ahankara, these are the two great obstacles in our spiritual path. Me and mine. And Bhagwan says, the one who does not have any kind of egoism, he is very dear to me. Balanced in pleasure and pain. Balanced, which means pleasure is neutralized, pain has been neutralized. Evenness of the mind. Samadarshanam. This is the secret of bhakti, is that it gives us this evenness of the mind, that equal vision. Why? Because we see God everywhere. It gives us this equal vision. Begin to see this in your own life. Begin to see divinity everywhere and see what difference it makes to you. Balanced in pleasure and pain. And forgiving. Forgiveness comes easily. Why? Because this is the Lord's play. This is the Lord's Leela, as it were. And therefore forgiving becomes part and parcel of being a Bhakta. Ever content. This contentment is not because I've got this and I've got that in my life, but contentment because it is a natural consequence of recognizing divinity in myself and recognizing divinity everywhere around me. Ever content. What is the opposite of content? Discontent. Where does discontent leave us? With an agitated mind. Mind is always agitated. I want this, I can't get this, I can't get. Stress. But when we are in constant touch with the divine through our bhakti, there is contentment. And with contentment comes peace. With the peace comes joy. This is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. Steady in meditation. Constantly being able to be in a meditative, mindful state of divinity everywhere. Self-control, discipline is there. Controlling the mind, controlling the intellect, controlling the senses, self-control at all levels of being. Why? For the sake of Bhagwan, for the sake of my devotion to the Lord, my love for the Lord. I'm controlling all this so that I can be more and more and more in touch with the Lord. And possessed of firm conviction. Conviction is very strong. And why do you think that firm conviction is very strong? Is because the faith is intense. Remember, supreme faith. This is what Bhagwan is asking. Supreme faith means that faith is unshaken. Like it says in one of the bhajans, even if the center of the universe is collapsing, this person of firm faith is not bothered. Person of firm conviction, because supreme faith is there. with mind and intellect dedicated to me. Both the mind, heart, feelings, intellect, thoughts, everything is dedicated to me. And then Bhagwan goes on to say, he by whom the world is not agitated, not affected. We go around in the world agitating everybody, especially in this lockdown. The agitation level intensity has really been turned on. We agitated each other, we agitated everybody else, and in turn, we are agitated by the world. Here, Bhakta, nothing doing. He is saying, by whom the world is not agitated, not affected, and who cannot be agitated by the world. Again, samatvam bhava, samdarshanam, divinity everywhere. Therefore, the mind becomes totally unagitated. Why? Because it is at peace with itself. It is at peace with the world. Why? Because this is the divine expressing itself in so many ways. Who is freed from joy, envy, fear, anxiety. All those hallmarks of the ego. Ego is always up and down. Joy one moment, suffering the next moment. Envy, fear, anxiety. All these are kind of expressions of the ego. And why the ego has gone? Because I am nothing. Lord is everything. Divinity is all around me. And if divine is this cosmic form, this ego is nothing. And therefore, freedom from joy, envy, fear, anxiety, indeed, freedom from the ego itself. He who is free from wants, desires, I want this, I want that, everything I want in my life, I'm going to run after it, run after this, that, and the other, free from wants. Why? Because I'm just doing what the Lord wants me to do. This is my dharma. Remember the theme of dharma right throughout the Bhagavad Gita, do your duty. And Arjuna's question is about, what should I do? Do your dharma. He is telling us the same thing, do your dharma. Forget about desires. Everything else will follow from me. I will take care of you. This is what Bhagwan is saying. Yoga Kshema. I will take care of those things which you don't have, and I will protect those things which you have. Pure, alert, unconcerned, untroubled, renouncing all undertakings. These are again more pointers of what we should be cultivating in our own life, becoming really perfect bhaktas in our endeavor. So Bhagwan further goes on to say, he who neither rejoices, nor hates, nor grieves, nor desires, renouncing good, renouncing evil, same to foe and friend, same in honor and dishonor, same in cold and heat, same in pleasure and pain, and who is free from attachment. So Bhagwan is giving us things which need to happen at each level of our being as this bhakta. At the level of the intellect, at the level of the mind, at the level of the senses, actions, fruit of the actions, and if we take all that into account, we have to understand that there are things to be done in order to cultivate these qualities for ourselves, so that we can begin to move towards perfection in our bhakti. To whom censure and praise are equal. Imagine what happens if somebody praises us. We blow up like a balloon. What happens if somebody punctures our ego? Next moment we are completely collapsed. But for a bhakta, censure, praise doesn't mean anything. Those are equal things which are there to be experienced, but not to disturb the mind. And who is silent? Not that he's going to kind of stop talking, but there is silence in the mind. There is silence around him, as it were. And he is in that true silence, which comes as a result of this intense bhakti. Who is content with anything. Contentment. Again, he is mentioning this, content with anything. And homeless. Homeless may bring a certain picture into our mind, but this is not what he's talking about. He is talking about homeless in relationship to this home which we call the body, mind, intellect. This is no longer my home. I'm homeless. Why? Because I am that divinity. I am that which is beyond any kind of home. So he becomes homeless. Why? Because this body in which I'm inhabiting, which I've occupied, I no longer identify with it, and therefore I become homeless. Steady-minded. Mind is ever steady, not disturbed by anything. And if you see all those qualities which we have spoken about before, you will see each one of them contributes to this sense of silence, sense of even-mindedness, and a mind which becomes quiet, still, silent. And remember, I said that the hallmarks of a very sattvic, pure mind through this kind of Bhakti Yoga, Shanti, Santosh, Samadhan. These are the things which begin to be experienced moment to moment by the one who gets purified. So it's no wonder Bhagwan is saying silence, contentment, and this constant sense of connection with the divine. On the one hand, and the relinquishing of the ego on the other. So that when we give up the ego, all these things which Bhagwan has been mentioning, they kind of fall by the wayside. And we begin to experience life in a very, very different way. So, how to live through the Gita? And this is one thing which all of you can try and do. Memorize all the qualities, 7 verses in this chapter. Keep a list with you always. Remind yourself of these qualities. See how they compare with what is going on in your life and what you are kind of expressing at this moment. Fine, everything is going to be there. Doesn't mean that it can't be changed. Our sadhana is for inner transformation. Remember, inner transformation cannot take place without any purusharth, without any kind of self-effort. So this is where self-effort is required. Just take 1 or 2 qualities a week, focus on them, bringing them into your awareness through the 4 A's method. Become alert when the quality is being contradicted in your experience. For example, if you experience dislike or hatred towards anything, become alert. Become alert. And remember, one of the qualities which you have to cultivate, no hatred towards anything or anyone. And then remind yourself of this divine aspect, Saguna, Nirguna, Ishvara, Atara, whatever way you can connect with the divine, remind yourself and then consciously change any kind of negative feeling into a neutral one, or even more important, a positive one towards the object, person or situation. This is your day-to-day connection with the divine. Of course, the Navvida Bhakti, the 9 modes of devotion mentioned in our scriptures are also ways in which we can practice our bhakti. This is the way in Bhagavad Gita talks about bhakti.